We are doing our stream earlier than usual because of a supposed peace summit that's going to take place today. Even though I don't think the results are going to lead to anything that's actually decent or worth being invested in. So I'm just making sure we get something before that because it's supposed to start at 12, and I didn't want to have to come here later. So yeah, it's been another one of those types of weeks. I was applying for some more positions. Let me see. Well, when the idea of getting together to try and resolve the homelessness saga, or the homeless saga rather, has been initiated by someone who wasn't the cause of it, and the person who caused it is kind of just like whatever. They don't really seem to care. That's why I say I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Because I said before, the biggest problems that person has is they've convinced themselves that me being unemployed is a choice, even if we've been over it before that it isn't. Um, and they're just always looking for something to have a problem with. So I think those two things are probably going to keep ruling out. And now one of their new tricks is they've started bringing up very old stuff from, like, I'm not even joking, over 10 years ago to try and make somebody feel bad over. It's really crazy because they're just going to go right back to the status quo. Oh yeah, well, that's why I said I'm not optimistic about this. But did you see the triangle scam? Did you like it? Did you think it was a decently made video? Did it entertain you? Did you laugh? That, like I said, I started writing the script for that about like at the end of last month, and then when this thing broke out with this person, it kind of took my time away because I wasn't able to just sit at the computer and you know write it. So it got delayed by a bit. And it's so funny because I don't know what it is, but it's like every time I do one of those, and there's a guy who gets like spotlighted as an example of what I'm talking about, and they come to the video and they either double down or they try to make it seem like they didn't say what they actually wrote, even though it's written and it's there in black and white. Nobody's recalling anything. Nobody's you know making them say something they didn't say. We're literally showing you the screenshot of what they said. That guy came on the video. I think he was the second comment, and he doubled down and he said something about, kid, you need to know that you're not always right about. I just got rid of it. I didn't feel like reading for that crap. It was a whole paragraph, but I could tell it was more of the same old crap. He's always right, and just the general condescending stuff, because he doesn't, in his little comment from what I saw, he didn't address anything I actually said. The whole thing of how um like these guys online pretend to care about other men, but then anytime something happens to one of us, we're always blamed for it. Um, and that's why I said I was really happy that I speak about multiple things, because it means that these people that normally would be able to just kind of like coast on the whole woman thing, or they're like put in scenarios where they have to speak about other topics. And every time they do, it always shows you how one track their mind is. Like, it always reveals that, yeah, this is just their thing. Blame the guy, blame the guy, blame the guy. So I was let me see. I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Yeah, typical thought process of an arrogant. But you know what drives me crazy is he does this whole thing of how, like, I don't know if you read his comment, but in the comment he's like, you are deficient with you do not understand boy girl interactions at all, and your audience is blind, and you are deficient in several key areas you may not even be aware of. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, if you're such this romance stud pimp guru, why don't you make your own content? Like, why don't you come online, and instead of sitting up in other people's comment sections typing novels, why don't you type a script for a video and get to work, and spread this gospel of how you're going to make all these women fall in love with these guys? Like, it's just so stupid, man. That's why I told you, like, the whole era of me listening to these people and going back and forth with them, I'm done. Every time they write something weird, I just laugh at it. Like, it's not even worth trying to like piece by piece break it down. I just have to accept the fact that anytime I do a romance video, there's probably going to be some weird comment from some guy about you should have this, don't you want that, da 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 da. It's character analysis or personality deciphering, where he's like, I know what you want, I can tell what you want. Love how he takes subtle jabs at me as an audience member, but he's so cowardly to say it directly to me. I love that. Well, I made the point of like agreeing with me about it being screwed up, like that this thing broke out has nothing to do with thinking that someone is perfect and never makes any mistake. But you see how like he has to conflate two things that really are not related. Like I don't know why it's hard to just look at a situation and say this guy did what he was supposed to do. He paid the amount every month. This person bumped it up to an amount that they knew he couldn't pay as an unemployed person to, I guess, try and will him in or force him to get a job. And then when a whole month went by and he looked for work, they tried to collect the amount of money that they told him that was coming, and he couldn't afford it, so he left. But it's like, imagine how demented you have to be to where you think if someone agrees with the notion that a person who is unemployed should not have a 5 times increase in the amount they're already paying per month. You are what was the stupid thing? You think I'm always right or something, and you need to understand what the other side meant because there's two sides to every story. Like prick, we're not talking about something that we can't prove. I have screenshots of everything. I have the original message from the start of last month where they gave this threat, right? Um, I have the messages that they've written since this saga broke out. I mean, this is not something that is not provable with evidence. But that's why I said when you start doing the whole "we don't know what happened" thing, and then we have proof of what one side is saying, it's just I don't like at that point you're just trying to play middleman for no reason, and this really isn't the situation for that. I'm sorry. So like people on guys online hate each other. They hate other men, and it's very obvious. They don't even try to like pretend that they care about you. You know, because in every scenario where something happens to you, it's your fault every time. So sick of these little gnats. You know what happened was I was actually with this person a few days ago, and somebody had a bag of food that was just sitting in like one spot, and it's obvious it's spoiled, right? And we were like, okay, that's weird, whatever. And we were mostly annoyed because there were some little like bugs or gnats or whatever that came out from over there because we parked like by the bag and didn't even see it until after the fact. So I like we left from that place and then came back a day later and the bag was still there. I was like, so wow. So it's funny how people always talk about, oh, people on the streets, they do all types of weird stuff. Don't leave your stuff here so I can mess with it. But it's like nobody wants to touch that bag and take it and put it in the trash so we don't have this pack of gnats just flying around, whatever. Yeah, you got your subtle jab. I hope you feel proud of yourself. I got a lot of news stories I was supposed to cover today. I'll probably try to record it after I come back from the summit meeting. But there was a lot of stuff that happened in the last few days. We had Tim Scott getting in that presidential election, uh, which is really funny because he's probably gonna get maybe like 1 or 2% of the vote, and he's not even the only person running from South Carolina either, which is even more hilarious because that means he stands a very good chance to lose his own state. Um, but then on top of that, you also have the thing with Boebert. Like it was like there were so many stories that just broke out in the last 2 days. We had the one where Green is talking about filing articles of impeachment against Biden, um, which are going to go nowhere. And then you have the thing with Boebert. So what was funny is that Akatsuki Merchant, there's a senator, his name is Fetterman. He's from Pennsylvania, and he's been hospitalized in recent times for depression, and that's like taking him out of the Senate because he's been, in the hospital. So he goes to this press conference, and he's like with the other, members of his caucus, and he wears a hoodie and some shorts. And this congresswoman is like, he took casual Friday to a whole new level, and he is not supposed to be dressed like that at any job, and especially one that only 100 people are elected to. And I was just thinking to myself, this man has been sitting up in a hospital, heavily, um, in trouble with his health. He gets up to do a press conference. He's not on the Senate floor. He's just doing a press conference, showing he's all right, talking to the other members of his caucus. And you're going to try to shame him over not wearing a suit. But that's why I said, when we have the conversations, Akatsuki Merchant, about how people have this like extremely like I find the outfit stuff so interesting, because we were talking about how when it comes to men's formal attire, there's really barely nothing for us. It's suits and ties, and they're all the same. Like the only difference really is the color, and usually it's like white or a blue shirt, and then a blue or a black blazer. And it's crazy that the one time one of these guys doesn't wear that stuff to a press conference, which isn't even like a full day. It's like a little brief appearance on TV. That at most is probably going to be like 40 minutes, maybe 30, an hour at maximum. And it's like, that's enough for her to go and tell him, you can't go to a press conference one time not dressed in a suit. Like, that's crazy. God forbid men should ever present as lovely instead of merely functional. When I saw that tweet, I thought it was like, I was on Fox. I thought that story was made up. I was like, there's no way she was so incensed about him wearing a hoodie and some shorts as to write like a whole post about it on Twitter, but she did. And Aaron, I haven't seen you on a stream in a long time, but like imagine things from her perspective. Like, just imagine your Bobert for a second. If you want to wear formal work related attire, that could mean any type of thing. You could wear pants, right? Some like little suit with pants. You could wear a dress. You could wear a suit with a skirt. Um, I mean, you get what I'm saying about how like it's easy for her to not feel, confined to something, because even when there's like a certain decorum when it comes to dress code, she still has multiple options to pick from, like multiple ways in which she can express herself that still look distinct and different from other congresswomen, which is why it's all the more infuriating where if you're a guy, like with Fetterman, he does one press conference where he wears something different, and it's enough for her to go online and throw a hissy fit over it. It's really nuts. Kotsky Merchant says, wow, a lot of people really do have this unexplained sense of authority and think they can dictate each other's lives to them. Sounds to me she's just a wench who wanted to run her mouth. Well, I'm more disturbed by the idea that, like, if you go and tell, like, imagine if she went to a press conference or went anywhere, and I said, "Oh, she's at this press conference and she's over there wearing that 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 skirt that doesn't go past her knee." You know what they would say, right? I was slut shaming, and who does he think he is, trying to tell her what she can and can't wear? But if a woman does this to a man, nobody says anything. Nobody has a problem with it. Nobody says, "Hey, you shouldn't try to tell him what he can and can't wear." Totally agree. Women have a lot of restrictions, but in terms of self-expression and popular culture, they have a lot more freedom in my eye. Well, what I'm saying is, Aaron, that even in institutions where there are restrictions, they still have infinitely more options to express themselves than men do. I would say than men's do. So that's why I was saying that, here's a guy who every time he goes to work has to wear a suit and tie, or at least, that's what he always wears. And he wears something different one time, not even to the Capitol, not even to do a Senate speech or anything, just to attend a press conference. He showed up in this. It's like, really? That's what you go on Twitter to talk about? I would love to watch your live streams more. I'm stumping for Williamson a lot, but I'm keeping plugging your channel as well. I appreciate it. I've tried to mention her more often. I haven't done a video with her name in like a month, but that's because I think you're aware there's been some interference on the part of other people to where I can't just like sit down and stick a, like, I'm talking about, where I would edit a video, like grab her speech and put an excerpt of it and then talk about it. It's been hard to just kind of do that in the current climate of how things are going at this point. But hey, anything to get those those green minutes of Twitter fame, right? I better not catch you wearing anything other than a suit and tie. If you work at a job, and my favorite part is that she actually said that his attire would be inappropriate at any job. I mean, there are football coaches that walk around in hoodies and shorts all the time. You know what I'm talking about? There are people who are involved in like PE and physical education. They wear shorts and sweatshirts or what I'm talking about. Like they wear that stuff all with recurrence. So it's just kind of funny that she was doing the whole you have to wear business attire every minute of every day thing to a person that basically does do it, and the one time he doesn't, it's enough an issue with her. I hate that so much, man. I'm really probably gonna end up doing a video on that because I'm really getting sick of this whole thing where if you're a woman, you can wear whatever you want, even if there are supposed rules about not being able to wear certain stuff. And if anyone says anything about it, we're told we're being sexist and we're shamed for it and we shouldn't do this. But if you're a man and you want to wear something that's distinct or different or unique or not like other people, you need to wear this. What are you doing? I just get tired of that. By her logic, there should be an unemployment crisis with how many people would get fired for wearing a hoodie. She really said you can't wear shorts at any job. I guess all those basketball players are going to get fired by the end of the week. Well, Aaron, it's actually kind of dubious what type of attire is allowed in Congress. What I mean by that is for the state houses, they do have formal rules, but for the House and Senate, they've had like their stuff is a lot more nebulous. And what I mean by that is like I've heard it's like business, it's like casual work attire, but you've had members of Congress actually break dress codes and not get in trouble for it. We had a member of the House give a speech in a hoodie, and he didn't get expelled or punished in any severe way. We had another member of the House. She actually became the senator from Arizona, Martha McSally. They had a rule about how if you're a woman, you can't wear a dress with that doesn't have I think sleeves, and she wore open-toed shoes because that was another like rule they had about what you couldn't wear, and a dress without sleeves, and pointed out, and she didn't get in trouble, which I'm glad. But still, it's like the rules like for the actual U.S. House and attire are really they're not as well defined as a lot of other stuff. Like I've seen state houses where they say professional attire or whatever for the House, like the actual House of Representatives, the national one. It's a lot more ill defined. Is the way I would describe it. It's not something that is really like spelled out. And I told one of my colleagues, I was like, you really think they have a dress code for Congress? Like, remember the requirements for Congress are having to do with how old you are, right? 25 for the House, 30 for the Senate, um, your residency, right? Being either in the state that you represent or being like you don't have to be in the district you represent, but being like living in that same area or same state. Um, it's just, and being, like a naturalized citizen. It's just funny that like there's three rules and none of them have to do anything with clothes, and people still try to push like the attire thing. I saw an activist appearing before Congress in California speaking for reparations, and she was in full Yoruba regal attire. I actually loved it, but of course, people were poking fun. Oh yeah, they do that anytime you wear something that's not based on whatever societal norm they have. They start. It's like enough to you know for them to take notice of and take issue with, because we all have to dress the same and talk the same, and it's all homogenized. Hey, Aaron, I don't know how familiar you are with Ben Shapiro, but one of my favorite clips of him from this year was when he tried to say that municipalities should have their governments look into banning men from wearing skirts or dresses via the indecent exposure clause. And I was like, I love how people always talk about how smart he was. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Indecent exposure is when you go outside and you have like no clothes or barely wearing anything, like your underwear, or sometimes not even that. So like it's funny that he would say, let's use a clause that's about punishing people who are revealing their private parts to those in public, and rearrange it to be used to punish people who wear attire that is concealing. Like it's just, and so many people for years were like, he's so smart, he's this genius. Facts don't care about your feelings. Like, yeah, and but apparently we're supposed to care about yours. It bothers you that men wear women's attire, but it's like it's not illegal. I just think that's so funny. He's like, to hell with freedom of expression. I'm gonna see if I can ban attire. And I was explaining to my friend the only reason he doesn't try to ban women from wearing pants is because he's another one of these boys that grew up in like the 80s and 90s where women wearing that stuff was like that was just an accepted normal thing. He's used to it. So it's really sad, the stuff people choose to focus on and try to prioritize. It's really depressing in a way. Let me turn the brightness down a little bit. Some reason the brightness on this stuff makes it's like you lose a whole damn 2 hours from the brightness being too high. It's really crazy. It was ridiculous, and Ben's whole style could benefit from. Well, I'm not gonna say anything about it because I don't even pay attention enough to him to like look at what he's got on. It's whatever to me. I'm not an avid viewer of the Daily Wire. Now I know a Kotsky merchant for a long time. He was a subscriber of theirs in Epoch Times because he used to watch Larry Elder. I tell you, Elder's the only person. What he's doing right now reminds me of O'Rourke. I don't know if you remember Aaron, but O'Rourke was the candidate from Texas that lost the Senate race to Cruz, and he did really well. He actually got the most votes of any Democrat in Texas ever, even more than Hillary did in the last presidential election at the time. It's like 4 million votes, and he was 2 points down. And everybody was thinking, oh, he's got a bright future ahead of him because look at how well he did. And then he decided to botch all of that by jumping into the presidential race and calling for mandatory gun buybacks, and he just destroyed himself. So when he ran for governor, instead of getting the 4 million votes he got before, he barely registered as getting 10% behind Abbott, and basically handed him a third term. So it's he like what Elder's doing reminds me of that, because it's a guy who lost a race in their home state, and then they run for president out of nowhere, like literally for no reason. Just they're polling at 1, 2, 3%, but they run. Um, and then they're gonna they lose, they don't win anything, and then they're gonna go back to being on TV or run for something else. I remember him all too well. Castro kind of took him out. Dude, that election was just I hope I never see anything like that 2020 Democratic primary ever again, where there's like 30 people in there and only maybe like 5 have a chance of actually getting anywhere. Because that's what the primary for the Republicans on this side is starting to look like, where there's only maybe 2 who have an actual chance of winning, unless Trump gets put in jail, which I don't think will happen. And the rest are kind of just there to get some name recognition, and they've got the ego. They lie to themselves and thinking that they're gonna actually stand out. But all the really smart ones who want to run for president, actually win, and be the nominee, they're sitting this one out. Like Cruz is not running, Rubio's not running, Rand is not running. None of the people who actually realistically could try and mount a bid if Trump wasn't there, they're all waiting their turn again. They're like, no, we're not. I'm not going through 2016 all over. It was a circus, but I got to find out about Williamson, Gabbard, and Yang, and I'm glad I knew about them. Well, I didn't have a problem necessarily with them in particular running, but there was a lot of nastiness that I just didn't enjoy, and it's like I don't even know where to start. We talked about press coverage being very unfair to certain people. We talked about like on Twitter, they were like nasty towards pretty much everyone in ways that are very underhanded. Um, I know at one point Sanders got injured when he was like It was like while he was campaigning in South Carolina, and he had this. It was like a what do you call it? When you get hit somewhere and you put some like over the sore to cover it, let it heal. There were people on Twitter that were making fun of him. They were like, ha 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 ha, over getting injured or slipping while he was doing whatever. And I'm like, people just there. And then let's not forget Warren's snake, her accusation that Sanders said behind the scenes that a woman couldn't win the election or whatever. After her campaign started tanking, she comes out with this allegation. But yeah, I'm not upset about Williamson, or I am disappointed in Gabbard, but that's mainly because of the way she's been since that election. Like, I don't know what she's doing anymore. She's turned into this like pseudo right winger that it's weird. It's really weird. It really hurts because I was so excited at the prospect. Like when we first were done with that race, and Biden won the election, I really thought, oh damn, okay, Sanders probably won't run again because he's they're gonna do like the whole too old thing, but Gabbard is one of the people that could primary Biden, in 4 years or 3 years, and as things currently stand, she's like, I don't know what she is. She's got like just on Fox espousing these right wing positions about the culture war, and hanging out with her best buddies, Tucker and Ruben, and I'm just like, I tuned out to the stuff with her. Like everything she says now is just the more of that same old woke is evil. To fight the radical socialist takeover of school. I just, like I said, you can have her at this point. I'm really disappointed because I was a firm believer in her, and I've been let down by the way she has acted since then. It's been a real turncoat series of events. Me too. I used to love her. This anti-trans position is so annoying. She has that on par with regime change was in terms of importance. Oh, she puts that on par with regime change in terms of, yeah. Because remember, whole thing, her, like the thing I liked about her during that election was she had a lane. She had a specific reason for being there. Like Sanders, when he ran in 2016, a lot of people said he wasn't that good when it came to international issues, and Gabbard was terrific on it. She was calling out all the Democrats for their hawkish positions during the debates, which were very memorable moments. And it's like, after that, I was really hoping she was going to be someone that could, even as like a private citizen, still play a role in the whole anti-war movement. But instead, she just kind of went to Fox and turned into what she is now, and it's really sad. The culture war is made up and stupid. It's purely there to distract us. Oh, I know it is, but it's really sad because we have a governor of one of the largest states in America right now who says His state is where woke goes to die. His state is not where unemployment goes to die, where low wages go to die, where homelessness goes to die, where pollution goes to die. No, it's where woke goes to die. And he's about to enter the race too. He, like, literally his entire term as governor is any restriction is draconian. Any like government mandated thing is like overreach, right? And then anything that is not what he likes is woke. They use that term so damn much. You would almost think they have like these extremely limited vocabulary. And if you ask the okay, let me read what Aaron wrote. Wait till they get in onto pineapple on pizza. This pizza's too fruity and woke. Dude, could you imagine if like some like really hardcore left wing person made like progressive pizza where it's got like Sanders' face, like pineapples or chicken shaped as Sanders' face and AOC's face and Ro Khanna, and then like when you bring the pizza to the rally, they have this woke pizza. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where like people make food that like is designed to look like a person in real life. They're like, this is woke pizza. We need to ban it. And then they pass a mandate that you can't have pizza that resembles um politicians, and they're going to try to frame it as like who embrace socialism, because you know they're never going to admit this is just to get at their opponents. And if you ask those people what woke is, you get like 50 different answers that are all equally stupid. Dude, there's a manga where there's like some female henchmen. They're not the main villains. There's some female henchmen, and they were able to put up a good fight. They lost anyway, but they were able to put up like a decent fight against the protagonist. And people call it the manga woke. It's like these aren't even the main villain is a guy. Those are his little like, and most of his henchmen are men. And because he has a few henchmen that happen to have a triangle, it's like the end of the world and we need to freak out and oh my god. I swear, man. Still laughing at Larry Hogan saying he wanted to avoid the multi-car pileup, and that he doesn't think Trump or DeSantis is going to be the nominee. It's like I really don't know who it could be then if it's not one of those two, because everybody else, who's been in this race now for 2 or 3 months, they're all sitting in the same 2, 3, 4, 5 percentile. Like they're not moving. Haley has been in the exact same position from when she launched in February to now. So she's been running for 3 months and it's nothing. I guess Haley and Ramaswamy are small potatoes. Well, like I said, if it makes sense for Trump to have to debate them at when they're polling at 2, 3, 4%, then it makes absolutely no sense for Biden to not have to debate RFK Jr. and Williamson, even though they're polling way higher than any of those Republicans are with regard to the opposite race, the opposing party's race rather. Dude, every time I watch one of Haley's interviews, I just start like wanting to fall asleep. She says the same stuff over it. And it's not even like Sanders where at least it's policy stuff that you want to like remember and hear, and that's kind of interesting. With her, she's like, I have foreign policy experience. When I went to the UN, I took the kick me sign off our backs. It's like, what does that even mean? I'm serious. Like whenever she drops out, I want to make like a whole compilation video where she just says the same couple of things. Well, you know what it is, right? A lot of these conservative women have this difficult angle where they have to try to sound strong. And by the way, her and Palin are connected because Palin, right after it was like during the 2010 midterm, she had this like pink elephant campaign where she was trying to get more women elected to like to office, which I mean I'm not against as far as like I don't have a problem with more women having positions, but it comes down to like candidates favoring positions I agree with. And Haley was one of the ones that she helped. So they are connected, and I'm not surprised that she's probably taken a clue out of her playbook. But you have to remember that during that 4-year period or that 3-year period before the 2012 Republican primary, a lot of people thought Palin was going to try to run, and she kind of surprised them by just being like, nah. And then we got stuck with Bachman, who dropped out right after Iowa, where she finished in like 5th or 7th place or some horrible number. Oh, I'm not well, Megumi. Today is the day of the peace summit where apparently me and this person are going to meet, and there's going to be a mediator, and they're going to try to resolve this dispute. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Dude, what's so sad about Ramaswamy is that he's this really young guy, and like he's the youngest person out of anybody running, like out of the supposed major candidates, right? And for some damn reason, he thought it would be a good idea to propose raising the voting age to the highest it would have ever been in America. Now you have to be a crazy bastard to be like, all right, if you're 18, you can get a job and you have to like go and make it for your own, but oh, you want the right to vote and determine who sits in positions of power to govern you? Nope. No, if they really brought back the draft, I'd be the first one to disappear. I'd be doing my streams from a damn bunker. So no banana wars for me. Sorry. Honestly, the dispute will get resolved. Oh, hopefully the dispute will get resolved. Seriously, it doesn't take a genius to work out the reason you decided to leave. Well, of course, but you understand that people have this thing where they view stuff in a skewed way. So um they're gonna like start bringing up things that have nothing to do with the reason I actually left. I'll be hearing about how I'm so rude and oh, you don't, because all these relatives have that fake love stuff. You don't love me, that crap. It's I think I mentioned to you that how like when a singer is retiring, or maybe they just don't make music anymore, or they haven't done it in a while, they'll put out like a greatest hits album where it's all their supposed best songs put together. This person sent me a text message that was like this big, and it was like all of their greatest hits. You're rude, you can't just sit around, all the like standard talking points just shoved into one giant message. That message is so big, I wouldn't even be able to screenshot it and put in the video because just of how giant it is. Like I was shocked at the fact that like they really sent this to vent and get things off their chest, but all they're doing is just repeating themselves. I didn't even respond to it either or read the whole thing. I just read like the first like 3 or 4 sentences out of 30 or 25. They sent their greatest hits message. What's that called on TV tropes? The reason you suck speech. That's what they did. That's what they gave, rather. I hated that policy he laid out. Before that, I was low key liking him. Hey, Aaron, um, Ramaswamy seemed like a decent, interesting kind of candidate who had like a lane, right? Like a particular set of issues he believed in. And then you found out that he was trying to alienate younger voters by being like, yeah, if I get my way, you people won't even be able to vote. Because you know damn well in a Democratic primary, you go around talking about I want to increase the voting age. You can kiss the young voters goodbye. They're all going to be like, nope, totally shot himself in the foot. And dude, it's like the crazy part is this is the youngest guy out of either field proposing to discriminate against young people. Megumi said, "Damn, was that really necessary to do? How is that supposed to help in any way? It doesn't." Sometimes people are just desperate to lash out at others the moment they get a chance to do so. It really is. I mean, when they sent this message, I didn't respond to it. I just saw some of it and just kept it moving. I was like, all right, whatever. They've sent me like 5 or 6 messages since I left, and only one of them was showing any kind of concern for me. The rest were just, lashing out and barking orders. Go do this, go do that, drive here. None of it is about like, hey, are you all right? Are you okay? Like literally one in the last 3 weeks. I would have told them to get a damn therapist. My thing is like I just felt like there was nothing I could say because I do believe that at a certain point with some people, they get an idea in their head, and no matter what you do that is contradicting of that belief that they have, they're always going to go back to that belief and keep pushing it. So you might as well not even bother like engaging with them in a back and forth. You'd be on your deathbed, then they'll still probably be telling you how much of a bad person they think you are. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, you just can't win with some people. What was it? I'm already forgetting his name. Like Jove. He was you weren't here for this earlier, Magumi, but he was the first. It was either him or some other guy who left like a comment before you did, and it was because I was explaining to a Kotsky merchant. Usually, when somebody writes a weird comment about, I do a video and they're in the video and I'm talking about how they believe this or they said this. They do two things. They either double down on their BS or they try to like spin it like, oh, what I really meant was, even though we have the message right there, he was like, kid, you need to understand that not everyone thinks you're right. And I was like, all right, goodbye. He wrote some paragraph. I just kept it moving. Well, I'm sorry you had to see that. He lashed out like one of those little schoolgirls. My thing is, if he's so brilliant and knows all the tips about boy girl interactions, why doesn't he make some videos? Why doesn't he host some seminars about how to get with these amazing, easily accessible women? Supposedly, I mean, come on, it's abused by incessantly repeating negative things about you. They gaslight you and thinking you have no worth as a person because look at how bad you are. Oh yeah, well if you say anything bad about them, it's the end of the world. By the way, and I know I'm sorry that Aaron feels very ignored. We've got Kamala calling young voters stupid and Ramaswamy trying to take away their vote. At least Williamson wants a department for them. Yeah, I do appreciate her for that, and that's why I said I'm trying to do another video on her soon. Um, Megumi, you weren't here for this. There was congressman. There is a senator who for several months was like hospitalized over depression, and he got out about, I think it was this week, a few weeks, like recently, right? And he went to a press conference with some other senators, and he was wearing a hoodie and some shorts. And this congresswoman went on Twitter to say that he took Casual Friday to a whole new level, and someone who's like that, his attire would not be allowed at any job, especially one that only 100 people have been elected to. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, it's so crazy how like if you look at things from her perspective. By the way, this is someone who's getting divorced, who got divorced this week, so you would think she'd be more focused on that than what this congressman is wearing, but whatever, or senator is wearing. But it's like, it's so sad that this guy, almost every time you see him, wears a suit and tie. And the one time he deviates from wearing a suit and tie, it's enough for not even just like people on Twitter write nasty stuff about everybody, and especially in politics, but it's enough for a sitting member of the other house of the lower chamber of Congress to denounce him in a tweet as like it's crazy. And I said if she did a press conference and she showed up uh in whatever, and I said, look at her attire, this is highly inappropriate, guess what they would say? He's sexist, he's slut shaming. But when she criticizes the way the attire of this man, totally fine. It's just really sad at this point. Need to fit in the box and never ever deviate from it. I'll tell you my favorite. Like, I'm really thinking of doing a video because it's like it's all part of that same thing of how when you're a guy, you have like very few options when it comes to clothing, and especially in formal settings or professional settings. Um, but also, it's funny because you know that there are jobs involving like physical health where people where men wear shorts all the time. Like, it by her logic, because you know you can't wear shorts to a job. I guess all those basketball players should just be fired. You know, I guess all the football players that wear shorts when they go to practice, they should be let go of too. I guess all the PE coaches. I mean, it's really nuts, man. They never get that level of scrutiny so unfair. It's not like she is restricted in that way of clothing. And I said that earlier. I said if she wants to go to a press conference, she can wear some pants. You know, they probably like throw a little like sometimes a lot of these female politicians, they don't even have a blazer. They just put on like a little, blouse and then the pants and then some pumps or whatever. Uh, she can wear a dress. She can wear a suit with a skirt. I mean, there's no shortage of options that she has, even in limited settings. So it's like to tell this guy who, in pretty much every instance where he's been a public figure, has worn a suit. Oh my God, you're not wearing a suit this one time, you should feel bad. It's like, go to hell. I love how she took to the internet to talk trash about someone when she had every opportunity to say it to his face. Knows she wanted to run her mouth without getting any pushback from him, coward. Dude, my favorite thing about like saying things to somebody's face is that Green and I'm forgetting what state he's from, Bowman. He's a Democrat. They got into some kind of like heated argument, and it's like it's recorded, so you can like I don't have it in front of me or anything, but like you can go and look for it. In the video, they're arguing, and Green is standing her ground, right? She's like, "No, you Democrats need to go after." She's like on par. Like you could tell she's very, like she's not afraid or anything. After the argument, she goes and says that she felt threatened by Bowman, and he called her a white supremacist, and that's like being called the N-word. And I was like, "What?" But like, because if you watch the video, not only is she standing right by him, she's not going, "Oh, please don't hurt me, Representative Bowman. Like, I couldn't believe it. It's literally like two different versions of reality. Like the version of reality that we see in the video of her like being on par with them, where they're both going back and forth, and then the version where she's trying to pretend that she's been like so scared and terrified. I was just embarrassed. Like, give me a break. Some of the stuff these people try to play victim over is so sad. Porter, and most of the time she's horribly dude, I don't even pay enough attention to Porter to notice that, but I mean, I'm not even gonna say anything because I don't want to get called sexist. Only thing I'll say about her is I hope Barbara Lee wins the Senate race. I really do. Between her and Porter and Schiff, she's the one I like the most by far. Because Porter is a Warren protege, so she might have some of that snake in her too. Megumi, if you saw the video of the two of them speaking, like I'm not even a fan of Green, and she was looking strong. She was sitting up there in her black dress, and she was making her points or whatever, and just as assertive as the man was, right? And then after the argument, I felt very threatened, and I was, Representative Bowman has a history of going after, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Because like I like it when they argue back and forth like that, because we never actually see members of really any elected office get into a discussion where there's like a little bit of passion, and like they're showing that something bothers them or is not, I'm talking about, like they all do little speeches where they have their prepared script and nobody can respond while they're talking, of course. So I like it when they get to like, go back and forth. But when she tries to make it seem like he was going to do something to her, um, simply by standing and shouting, it's just goofy, man. So yeah, Georgia's most iconic current serving politician really shot herself in the foot. She made it seem like she was as aggressive and combative as him in the video, and then after the video, she's like all panicky. That was awful. No, I know Aaron is really excited for the next Marjorie video. Don't worry, it's coming, dude. There's no shortage of stories about her. I literally had to fight off several like different temptations to make a video about her because she's like almost every other day there's some kind of weird thing that happens with her. I swear, like that, like I'm gonna file these articles of impeachment that have no chance of getting through, and then I'm gonna accuse somebody that I was yelling at in a video of like scaring me and having me terrified. Oh my god! And most people are going to be inclined to take her side, and I feel and feel sorry for her. Yeah. Akatsuki Merchant says MTG has a fragile ego and she's a professional liar. You mean she's very brave, stunning, and is a professional lawmaker? I fixed it for you. You're terrified of strong women. That's why you smear her in such a way. That's what they start saying. Oh, she was a troll. Aaron, remember dude, one of the most memorable things she ever did was before she was in the house. She went and followed one of the survivors of that Florida school shooting at what was that, Stoneman Douglas, and was like accusing him of faking it and like you remember that, where there's like a video of her following behind him going, "You made this up. You didn't. You're not telling the truth." That's exactly what those people would say. Very accurate. No, Aaron, you don't remember that video where she followed the school shooting survivor and accused him of making it up, of being a crisis actor? That's a whole level of like just disgusting on the part, because it's like this guy could have been killed. Well, if you missed it, just type in David Hogg, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you should get it. That thing, when she was running or like got her first term, they were playing that every day for a while. I was, Jesus, they're gonna bury her with this. Megumi, imagine like surviving a school shooting and then you become an advocate for gun control because you don't want to see more people get blasted. And then like a woman follows you around with a camera. And she's like, "Why are you making this up? Why are you faking this?" And then less than 2 years later, she gets elected to one of the two chambers of Congress. Like they give that same person that followed you around and harassed you actual power in a governing body. Like that's how. That's what I said, man. America has so like just the most backward stuff happens over here. No, we have a whole bunch of mass shootings, and sometimes the survivors of the shootings will like either the parents or the kids. They'll become advocates for gun control because it personally affected them, and they don't want to see other people have the same thing happen to them. Um, One of the survivors of this 2018 shooting, which if I remember correctly, I think it was like 15 people were killed. It's like some double digit number, But anyways, he went to Capitol Hill to lobby for gun control. And this woman, before she was a congresswoman, she was just a regular citizen, followed him around, accusing him of faking the shooting or, being like someone that was profiting off of it, and just kept following behind him, like basically, I would say harassing him. And less than 2 years later, she was elected to the House. And let's not forget, Aaron, I'm really surprised you didn't know about that, because I'm not joking when I tell you Green is probably, of anyone who's currently sitting in office, I'd say she's in the top 10 most important Republicans, like, nationwide. She's one of their top fundraisers. She gets the most. I mean, it's, I'm talking about, like, she is. They discuss her in ways that are not typical for most members of either body of Congress. But she also, back when she was posting on Facebook, she would thumb up post on, like, she wasn't making them, she was like, hearting them, thumbing them up, posts that called for assassinations of various left-wing politicians. So somebody would say assassinate the Speaker of the House, who at the time was Pelosi, and she would thumb it up and heart it. She spread conspiracy theories. You had a man who died in a plane crash literally when I was a year old, and she was saying that he's still alive, all kind of weird stuff. So that's why I said there's something wrong with these people. There really is. In any other country, such behavior gets you barred from political engagement. Not over here. That's why when I had the one relative who was like, "Oh, you should, if you don't have a degree and people find out you don't have one, they might not vote for you." It's like, do you really think in a country where they'll vote for someone who literally thumbed up post calling for the assassination of political opponents and harassed a school shooting survivor, that I would feel bad about not having a degree and contemplating a run for hell? The other one, the one that did that thing with where she was criticizing Fetterman over, like, not wearing like wearing the hoodie. She only got her GED the month before the election. So, it's becoming more and more common for regular people who don't have a machine behind them or don't have some institution they attended to just go off the couch and be like, okay, I guess I'll run. Even though I have to admit, it is easier for people like that to do it, because they still, even if they try to do like their whole anti-establishment thing, they still, are mostly embraced by conservative donors who know that despite whatever type of rhetoric they use, they're not actually going to vote against stuff or, be dramatic in a way that's like not rhetoric. It's change on the outside, continuity on the inside. Or anything weird or negative, they want to find out more about it. They are interested in it. Well, my thing is, congressional races on, like, in general, get nowhere near the attention that a presidential race would get, where it's like on TV every day. A lot of times people have like whole races that get almost no coverage, especially like when it's out of state. So that's one of the reasons I wouldn't even be worried, because you don't get that type of scrutiny unless you're running usually for president, or, unless your race has on the 1% chance attracted national attention. But even then, it's like, I just don't feel embarrassed. Like, I'm not ashamed. Sorry. Imagine if this was the UK and she did this. Not only would the BBC rip her a new one, her reputation would be forever tarnished. Yeah, the fuddy duddies in the Williamson campaign gasp every time she makes a misstep, and I'm like, let's go. Let her, it'll go viral. Dude, I swear they don't even have like an actual, what I'm talking about. They just look for anything to be like, oh my God, she said this or she didn't say that correctly. And they're like, so what? Because, first of all, most people don't even watch most interviews that a candidate or any person gives. Like, most people who like them don't watch most of their interviews. Like there are very few interviews that have ever been conducted that like were that in at least in the realm of elections that were actually influential. You think I'm kidding? Very few interviews where it was like, oh damn, this person said this, and then it was all over the news and it played a big role in them not winning or whatever. Almost never. They do an interview, a couple people who've never seen them talk before hear them, and then they go on, right back on to campaigning. Like it's not, it really isn't the end of the world if you make a misstatement or speak incorrectly. Now, sometimes social media will blow up stuff, but it's again that still doesn't account for all the people who use sites like Twitter and Instagram who aren't even involved with that stuff. So I'm not too worried about her prospects. If they're ruined, it wasn't over the interview. Dude, I'm really thinking about all the interviews I've ever like watched and which ones made. Well, give you a good example, Megumi. You remember Diana's interview from I think it was a few months before she died, the year before she died. It was like right during around the time she divorced from Charles, where it was watched by like 30% of all British citizens. Like a whole bunch of people saw that interview. That was a hell of an interview. That because the amount of attention it attracted was out of this world. But to go back to my point, Aaron, if we were to like actually sit here and think about certain ones, there's Ted Kennedy's interview with Roger Mudd where he asked him, why do you want to be president? He stumbled. There's Trump's interview with what's that guy's name? I'm forgetting his name, but he did an interview in like it was in 2015, and he said that McCain was a war hero because he was captured. I like people who weren't captured, and that got some press for a little bit. But like I said, most of them, they do the interview and then people put it on YouTube, or maybe it's online or it's in the vault somewhere, and then we never hear about it again. I'm just saying interviews are not the end of the world. And hell, the sad part is when you do an interview and let's say you stumble, you're actually more likely to be benefited by that than anything else, because most of the people that watch stuff with you in it are people who already like you. Because when Trump said, McCain wasn't a war hero, he didn't have people going, oh my God, how disgraceful. This man almost died for our country and he stayed back to get the other prisoners in Vietnam released. No, people were like, yeah, the hell with him, yeah. So it's just one of those things where you're more likely to be helped by interviews than not, because a lot of people who don't like you or have never heard of you are still not going to know who you are after you do them. And sometimes it doesn't even matter how many people watch it; they still just will not care enough to see it. Just like I think I mentioned that my friend, I asked him if he knew who Tucker Carlson was, and this was after Tucker got fired from Fox News, and he put up a Twitter video that got 100 million views in one day. And 100 million views is literally more views than the number of people who voted for either candidate in the last presidential election. Like more people watched that video than voted for Biden or Trump. Like that's how many people saw that thing. And he still didn't know who that was. He said the name sounded kind of familiar, but so I just, all right, I'm not even going to bother telling you. That's why I said fame is relative, because people who are in stuff that goes viral, a lot of people still know who the hell they are. Megumi, you need to get your status up. You need to make sure that you go out there and people know who you are, even though fame is relative and there's going to still be loads and loads of people who don't know who the hell you are. You think I'm kidding? There are people on YouTube with 100,000 or 1 million subs that you've never even heard of. I'm really not joking when I say that. And a lot of it comes down to They might be famous in the online world of that particular thing they talk about, but if you go outside of that, nobody knows who they are. So, like, for example, in the political world of the internet, I can say, "Oh yeah, I watch TYT and I've heard of, you know, David Packman and Secular Talk or any of these other places, or Jimmy Dore." And then you go and you actually talk to voters, like just regular old people or young people, just regular people that aren't even into following this stuff closely. You ask them what TYT is, they might say uh, the Yardish Turk or something. They won't know who that is or what that is. They won't know what the abbreviation is, and it doesn't matter if you say TYT or the Young Turks. They're gonna be like, "What's that?" Because again, even if a channel on here has millions of subscribers and a billion views, there's still a lot of people who don't look for this stuff, who don't follow this stuff regularly, who have no idea who the hell they are. So that's why I keep saying fame is relative. It's not something you can quantify very easily. I tell you, the most depressing thing about legacy and fame and all the rest of that stuff is just when you like think about how you'll have someone that did something really important, and then it'll be one generation later, right? And because the people who were around when the important person was around don't mention them, and like the kids that grow up after that don't care to look up any of this stuff or find out about any of this stuff, they don't even know who they are. They like the person effectively is forgotten by the first generation that comes after they're not active anymore. It's really sad. Hey, Aaron, you weren't here for the stream, but I was talking about how crazy it is that like you have young, and I hate bringing race and stuff, but I'm going to mention because I just think this is too ridiculous. You have young, and when I say young, I'm talking about sometimes kids, sometimes people in their 20s, sometimes teenagers, whatever. You have young African Americans who don't even know a basic black historical figure like Jesse Jackson. Even someone who's as simple as that, they don't know. Who's been around as he has a 50 plus year career. And like it just drives me crazy because it's like people just I'm never embarrassed, man. I'm never not embarrassed when you see the ignorance that just permeates society. And the more I talk about it, the more I feel like a broken record, honestly. Because it'll be the same person where you'll ask them over and over, "Hey, do you know who the first black person that ran for president was who actually won multiple states and had a decent shot of winning?" And they still don't know. I asked him who was the first black person to run for president. That person said, "Oh, he cursed at Obama." It's like, no, it wasn't a he. Like that one clue by itself already obliterates them even knowing what they're talking about. But I'm just saying, it's like so sad because you would think that would be a source of pride among black people, but a lot of the younger ones don't really seem to care. Well, that's what I'm saying. Jackson's campaigns in 84 and 88 were written off as jokes. They said he was a fringe candidate who had no chance of winning, shouldn't even jump in. He's going to hurt the party's chances of winning the actual general election. Just a big distraction, right? The first time he ran, got 3 million votes. And the second time he ran, he doubled his results and defied all of their expectations. It showed a black person can run for president and not just be confined to the black candidate. They can attract white voters and other minority groups to their cause as well. You're not bound by just your race. And that's why I said it's so sad that someone who, and it's not, and like my thing is, it's not like he just disappeared after that. He's been involved with plenty of major events since '88. I mean, he was involved with the Florida recount in 2000. So it's sad. It really is. Having basic knowledge would really go a long way. Well, that's my point. That I'm not asking for them to read a whole damn biography of him, but at least like very basic stuff. Like, hey, why is this person important? What position did they have? What milestone did they break? But that's why I said I really just start to feel like a broken record because you keep saying, hey, here's this person. This is the important thing they did, and they just don't want to listen. Let me hold on a second, guys. What's a shadow senator? That was just an informal position he held to advocate for DC statehood. It's not, it's whatever. It's like you're our unofficial official advocate. Honestly, I wouldn't even put that in the among the like more important things to remember about him because after he lost in '88, he was favored to replace Marion Barry, the mayor of Washington, uh, after he got into that scandal with the with the drug, and he chose not to do it. And so when he ran in '92, the party basically when he didn't run in '92 but still tried to like have a role in the primary, they basically snubbed him because they were like, "Hey, you could have really helped us by keeping that position," but he didn't want to do it. Oh, yeah, this person called me. I was surprised they called me because they usually aren't. They always say they're not even up at this time. I guess that wasn't true. No, it's not even anything I would really pay that much attention to. But I was going to say it's actually really impressive that he has the amount of influence that he does because as someone who's never held elected office, as far as like again the shadow senator thing is just whatever to me. As someone who's not a current elected official, he commands a certain level of attention when he does things that is really unparalleled when it comes to activists. So it's I don't know if I mentioned to you, Aaron. I know at one point you were on one of my you left a comment about like why doesn't Condoleezza Rice run for president? Um, in 2006, her and Jackson were voted the most important black leaders. The two of them, and that's really impressive on his part because he, as a private citizen, was seen as being just as important as the damn Secretary of State, one of the highest positions in the, I mean, in the land. Dude, I swear it's so sad when like the people that these guys don't know, it embarrasses me. Like I'm not ashamed of my ethnicity, but I am ashamed of the ignorance of a lot of people that share it with me because I don't know how you don't know someone as basic as that. And remember, these aren't people that grew up without, like, not around computers, and I mean, it's just sad. It just, I'm really embarrassed every time I hear somebody who says they don't know who that is, and they're of adult age, mind you. I just put my hand over my face. I'm like, really? Because I'm telling you, the way they act, you would almost think you're asking them to know every damn body that was involved in the civil rights movement, and I'm not. Even though I do think more people from that era should be uh, celebrated or given some recognition, but it is what it is. Dude, it's like and look, if it's a kid, I kind of get it. Whatever, they're children, they don't know stuff. But what drives me crazy is that every year people go and they get a day off with Martin Luther King Day, and they really know next to nothing about him, right? Except for I Have a Dream and the assassination. Um, and then they don't even know the people that were around him. They don't know who his best friend was. A lot of them couldn't even tell you his wife's name. I mean, it's just sad. Like like let's just Aaron, imagine if you did something that was considered so revolutionary that they named a holiday after you. And on that holiday, people get a day off every year, right? And people who celebrate this holiday, the Aaron Carson Day, right, where they get that day off, they don't know who your dad was. They don't know who your mother was, even though they played very significant roles in your life. They don't know any of your friends, any of the people that helped you achieve your dreams. They don't know any damn body besides you, and they barely know anything about you. They know one speech you gave, and that you may have had whatever type of fate that you had. Like what you died from, maybe, or when you died, or whatever. You don't think that's sad, pathetic, embarrassing? But I told you, every time I repeat this, I feel like a broken record. Like when I try to sit these people down and tell them this is who this person is, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels, like just like this, running in circles. Magumi says very. Magumi, imagine if there was a Magumi Day, and in the UK everybody gets the day off, right? And people, they don't know who your mother was, they don't know who your dad. I'm sure we can infer those are people who are important to you, right? If you have siblings, they don't know who they are. Any friends or associates you had who made it to where you could do the things you did or played a role in helping you, they don't know who they are. They know nothing, almost nothing about you, except maybe when your birthday is, and a speech you gave, and maybe if you were killed or not. Like, that's pathetic. Not only that, there are a number of trolls who proclaim their ignorance proudly in comment sections. Oh yeah, people like not knowing anything. It's really sad. It's even worse because, like, a lot of historical figures, and I was making this point to the pricks at WikiPiss, a lot of historical figures don't have any books written on them, or maybe like one, and then it's out of print and you have to get it from 10, 20, 30 years ago. Um, but with King, for example, some of the best biographies are about him. Taylor Branch's Martin Luther King trilogy, um, David J. Garrow's book on him. I mean, like, there's multiple ways that people can learn about him without having to, what I'm saying? Like, they choose to not know is what I'm getting at. That they choose to, make no attempt to learn this stuff. They don't care. But curiosity has to come to them. It does. And I tell you, when I was a kid, I was curious because King's wife died when I was in second grade, like early preschool, right? I knew she was before that because she played a very instrumental role in the holiday even being a thing. She lobbied for that for years, and she didn't disappear. And that's what's kind of sad. It's like she was around a hell of a lot longer than he was, and it's like people actually who know him don't know her. Like, that's the craziest part. Um, And like I said, Jackson was one of his associates who was there with him when he died. So it's even more, and he certainly has kept up being busy since that happened. So it's even more insane that people don't. Whatever. They need to be a villain to check the stuff out. That is true. Because guess what? I was even telling my friend, I said, you don't know who any of the pioneering black civil rights leaders were that got you more and more rights as time went on. But you can name every single singer, rapper, or damn near prominent serial killer that gets put on TV enough times. Like before he'll go and watch a 10-minute interview with a civil rights leader, he'll watch a 2 or 3 hour documentary about a serial killer. That's how backwards this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like it's I'm done. I'm done trying to even understand like what the logic of these people. They're just it's weird. Good point about curiosity. Most of what I've learned has stemmed from that. The stuff that was shoved down my throat didn't stick. Yeah, I learned a lot of. I mean, when I first got into politics, I used to go. I hate giving them credit, but I used to go on WikiPiss and look stuff up, and go on YouTube and watch interviews. I mean, I just got hooked on it. I said I want to learn about this. And at the same time, my grandparents played a very big role because they were into it as well. So that gave us something that we connected over, and it's so I say it's all the more tragic that like a lot of people who are adults don't even know basic black figures in either in American history or that are contemporary. I asked my friend, "Hey, how that there have been black Supreme Court justices, right?" He's like, "Oh yeah, there's I know they have one, the black one." I was like, "Okay, do you know his name?" No, but I see him in the picture and he always stands out. Dude, I swear, I just imagine achieving, because some people say getting on the Supreme Court's hard and being elected president. Imagine achieving the highest court in your country, a court so high and prominent that people literally fight electorally over who gets to pick justices for this court. You achieve the highest court in the land. Only 9 people are on it. And the way that someone of your ethnic group describes you is you're the black one. Well, hey, better late than never. Rappers who have done literally nothing but dumb down music. So I mean, dude, it's not. I'm not even talking about like the big greatest of all time type ones, like Dre or Tupac or Biggie or like I mean, I'm talking about like ones that are they have no accolades, but since they're contemporary, you know, this person knows who they are. Like that's what I'm saying about they don't know any civil rights figures except one. They know a couple of black people that have held office, and I'm not supposed to have a problem with that. Just oh well, they just have a different opinion. It's sad, man. It's really sad because all those people that participated in those marches in the '60s, and a lot of them lived past that as well. They did all that stuff for African Americans, and a lot of the younger ones don't even know who they are. So people who in some cases died for the advancement of civil rights for black people are not known by a lot of current black people. But then all these rappers and singers whose most courageous act is type in some lyrics and rhyming, they know who they are. I'm telling you, man, the entertainment industry is just I'll never understand. Like it's nuts. I don't know, I guess because for me, I'm the kind of person that has like a curiosity about things. Like I'm like, hey, has this happened before? Who did this? So that's why for me it's a lot less understandable. Like I don't get how you can be a kid when the first black person is elected president and then like internally not go, hey, did anybody ever try before that? Ever? Did anyone make an attempt prior to that? Was he just the first one to ever even attempted? And like I said, you're not going to hear them talk about Shirley Chisholm or Jackson or any person that was a trailblazer. Dude, let me tell you how warped stuff is, Aaron. I hate to say this because I know you'll get mad, but there's a woman who's like 30 something that had a baby with a 13-year-old boy, and she's only going to serve 90 days. Because things are so warped, more people will know who she is than know who Marion Williamson is. I'm not even saying that to be funny. Because we like get caught up on all the controversial, sensational crap, more people will know who that woman whose only notable thing is that she got knocked up by a teenager. They'll know who she is before they know who, who, who Williamson is. It's so sad, man. This is the era of ignorance. You can play, and they'll take a story like that, which really should just be a one and done. Like, hey, there's this woman, she did this thing to a kid, she's getting out in 90 days. Here's her picture. And they'll play it multiple times on TV. People will talk about it on social media. It was on Twitter yesterday. But guess what? If it's the anniversary of, I don't know, a sit-in or some other major historical event, they don't care. It's whatever to them. It's just kind of funny because it's like people always try to say that history is boring. I'm like, well, damn, I really when I was a kid, I used to be in all that murder stuff, and to an extent there is I am still interested in it to an extent. Like there is some of it I still watch. Like I've had documentaries where I'll go back and watch them years later and be like, wow, this was actually very well made for the time it came out. But I'm not joking when I tell you that once you've seen like 4 or 5 serial killers, you've basically seen them all. Because what happens? It's a guy who kills either an assortment of people or women, or some combination, by either breaking into their house or robbing a store or taking them back to his dungeon. And after he does this, he pretends to be like, as he's doing this, he pretends to be a normal person. Sometimes he messes with the police, sometimes he doesn't. Um, but he makes like some fatal error that finally gets him caught, or he just disappears and nobody ever figures out who he is. Like that's all of them. That's You can take every single one of them and they fit into that category. So that's why I said after hearing about a couple of these, it's just the same thing over and over again. Exactly. It's like those stories are very much the damn same. But that's why I don't get the fascination with them, because it's not even like, okay, here's this one killer and this book came out when the thing happened, whatever. You'll have 5 or 6 or 7 different books on the same murderer and like a bunch of movies and documentaries. I'm like, what is so damn interesting about them? Let's just name drop Dahmer, for example, right? The only thing that's different about him from any of the rest is that he was attracted to men. His dad was actually a very nice man who was in his life by all accounts, which deviates heavily from the rest of them. It makes him even a bigger piece of crap. Uh, and he got away with killing a bunch of mostly black people while living in a black neighborhood where the people that lived around him were too. I don't know like what the deal with them was, but they were like too not wanting to be nosy to notice that there was a disgusting odor in the house. But like I said, I mean, besides his sexuality, which actually is not that distinct, because they said the same thing about Gacy. So it's like, besides like the keeping the corpses in the house, which again is not that distinct because Gacy did the same thing. It's really just a retread of that. Some like either gay or bi person that's evil, and kills multiple other men and like stores them in their house. Like that's like, when I say that, that describes two of them because they're so damn alike. They are literally the exact the same. And that's one of the reasons why I told you WikiPiss really gets on my nerves, because when you go and you read some of the articles they have on these killers, and like I said, listen, I don't. My whole thing, my stance has been this: if people want to be into that stuff, it's fine. But what drives me crazy is that you will go on WikiPiss and they will tell you, you want to have 5 sentences about what this person did when they were in high school. That's not notable. But then you go on these pages of these killers, and it's like, oh, this person. See, if they're really doing their whole we write in summary style crap, they would say this guy went to this person's house, killed them. That's it. It's like one sentence. They'll have a whole damn 2 paragraphs about one killing. He hid in the bushes. He wore this. She went out this way. I'm like, you guys, your article is longer than if I sat down and read the whole goddamn book. The cannibalism. I mean, okay, Aaron, you understand what I'm saying, right? That it's still the same thing of like keeping the bodies at the place. Well, yeah, but we've seen murderers eat like their victims. I mean, there was a rapper that did that to his girlfriend when he got he was on, I think it was PCP, some kind of drug, and then there was a guy who chewed off another guy's face about 10 years ago. So I mean, it still really isn't that distinct. And that general overview I gave is really accurate. It's some guy that people think is normal, who between the ages of being a teenager and adult decides he wants to go out and do some violent stuff. Uh, and after committing these evil acts, they try to pretend like they're normal. They get caught, and they spend the rest of their life in jail before being executed, either by a prisoner in Dahmer's case or by the state in Gacy and Bundy's case. Although Bundy has the distinction of being one of the few that actually escaped from prison and continued his spree for a little bit. And remember, we tell you don't become a murderer. Remember, that's bad. But guess what, uh, Aaron? If you go out, or if I went out and slashed the throat of several women, and they found out it was me, guess whose picture is going to be on the news all day? Well, the Bundy case is distinct because all he did, as far as we know, we don't know what his full victim total was. That's never been confirmed. But as far as we know, he only killed women. He got out of he escaped from prison, which is extremely rare. But like the whole thing of normal guy who's like a high value person in society, that's something he had in common with Gacy. Which is why I said that like these guys are really not that distinct from each other. And I just to contrast them with Jackson, for example, of any of the people that were held over from the King years, so like who survived the civil rights movement and then just kind of continued on into the 70s, 80s, 90s. He's really the only he's not the only one to try for office, but he is the only one who tried to run for president and actually got somewhere. Um, I know that the NAACP leader Julian Bond ran in '76 and didn't really get anything. Um, but like I said, a lot of the like that still makes that by itself makes him very distinct from any of the other holdovers from the civil rights movement. Like he secured his place in history back in the '80s, and he still goes out and does stuff to this day, and exerts a certain level of influence that people seek. That notability clause from Wikipedia was the bane of my existence. I used to edit over there. Man, I'm like an addict with that site. I left for years and I came back and was doing. I'm being a little bit more strategic about it this time around. But they'll probably do something stupid. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised. But you see, we seem to really like acknowledging serial killers, people that go out and commit violent acts on society. And sometimes it's not even just about murder. Like a lot of times it can just be something sensational. Like we were Aaron, you might not remember Roy Moore, but that was the Senate candidate in Alabama that was accused by a bunch of teenage girls of like being nasty to them when he was an adult and they were underage. Um and like one of the things that I always remember is that his wife is like I think 14 years younger than him, and he admitted that he first saw her when she was like a teenage girl at a dance recital in ninth grade, and he was a grown man. It's just some weird stuff. But anyways, um, when that stuff broke out on WikiPiss, they were editing his page like crazy. His article ended up being, I mean, and remember, this is a guy who was really only famous for like a month, and like they were just piling stuff on there, all these controversies, all this insane stuff that he had said or done. And again, it's that same thing of like sensationalism, you know? Anything positive, you'll barely get mentioned. Oh, yeah. It's really sad, too. But you get what I'm saying about how in some cases it really is just sensationalism. It's just like how much controversy can this person drudge up? Because Green doesn't get covered as much as she does because she's this extremely accomplished legislator who's such an eloquent speaker. And when she talks, you really get her passion for these issues, and she gets into the nuances of things. And she has this very no, it's because she had crazy posts online. She says crazy things as a member of Congress. And that's pretty much it. So it's that's what I'm saying about how like it's not the people who are getting all this attention. They've not achieved something of some great noteworthiness. They just it's all sensationalism. Hmm. Look at Representative Santos. That's a guy who literally lied about his entire life. Lied about jobs, degrees, everything. And guess what? On WikiPiss, they're adding all that stuff like clockwork. You think I'm kidding? If you, it's like the only two ways to get attention in that stuff is to just say insane things or do something completely unorthodox. And even the people that like achieve something of great distinction, they really don't get talked about that much, especially as time passes. It's sad. Um, what's a good example? Let me see. Aaron writes Williamson got an award from the Peace Department along with Dr. Cornell West, and even their own campaign didn't cover it. That's nuts. Oh, I know that if that guy didn't know who Jackson was, he definitely doesn't know who West is. I'm not even gonna bother. And it's sad too because West was one of my favorite critics of the Obama administration, where he was calling Obama like this Wall Street drone, and it was really nice to see him do that because he gave him a chance back in 2008, and basically was one of the few people when 2012 rolled around was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. He's let me down. I really respected him for that because all the other black leaders were like, must support reelection of first black president. You know, just it was like drone like. You know, you had Al Sharpton talking about he refuses to criticize him under any circumstance as to not alienate the community. I'm like, God, man, imagine if like what's a good example? Imagine if I call myself wanting to improve the lives of workers and union, you know, and teachers and just different people that are working class citizens, right? And then they swear in the first black governor of my state in California, and I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to criticize the governor in any circumstance that's not alienate the black community. You're like, what in the world? So because of the governor's ethnicity, if they do something screwed up or wrong, they can count on you shutting up about it. Like, but that's what Sharpton said. Even though, in my opinion, it was more likely out of wanting to keep contact with. Well, you know how these people are, man. They look for any way to justify stuff to themselves. It's just really crazy to see an activist. The people are supposed to be your biggest critics, right? Being like, nah, I'm not going to criticize the president at all, ever, for anything. I think that's nuts. But again, people listen to him. They like him. They think he's someone that they should, all worship. And every time there's a funeral, he shows up to it. My favorite funeral. Aaron, you heard about the Jordan Neely thing, right? Where there's the Michael Jackson impersonator that got like put in the chokehold and died on the subway. My favorite thing was when Fox was covering his funeral and they were talking about Sharpton's speech, and they were talking about AOC was in like the crowd or like in the pews, and how she was very broken up over this tragic death of this young man. And then you get the pictures of her outside taking selfies with it's like she's very broken up as she smiles for pictures with. I was like, oh my god, dude, they use you know what's so sad about like the whole young black males dying in American society thing. The conservatives use them for the like they must have done something wrong, that's why this happened to them, like thing they like to throw out there. And then the liberals or the people that are like on the left, a lot of times use them for a prop. Oh, look, I'm going to this person's funeral who was that was murdered. By the way, let me take some pictures smiling with everybody that's in attendance. God, man. So I said this stuff is just a joke to me. Like it's sad he lost his life. I that's not funny to me, but like the way people react to it, where one side says basically he got what was coming to him because that's how screwed up they are. The other one's like, well, we don't like that this happened, but we got to make sure we get our names on TV and our pictures on the in the newspaper. That's why I said I really don't like. Part of me, even in wanting to get involved with stuff like that, I don't want to go to all these damn funerals and then pose for cameras and give the same speech about the injustices and the ongoing legacy of slavery. Like it just I don't know. I just think it's all just so tacky and trite, and it doesn't feel like me being there causes anything to improve. Like a guy who had a guy who in real life would never have even stepped foot near that a congresswoman has her come to his funeral just to sit around and take some smiling pictures outside. Like it's just it's all just a big gag, man. You think that's sad that like if he hadn't have died the way he did, where it's all over the news, then none of these people would have gone to his funeral. Just been like, oh well, another deceased person. Who cares? Tell you, man, people just love using you as a prop. That's one of their favorite hobbies. Hey Megumi, I I forgot to tell you, but I was on Amazon, and like sometimes they have like they have like shirts or stuff in different colors. Usually when I see a shirt in different colors, like for a guy, right? It's maybe like all the primary ones like red, orange, yellow, blue, green, probably various shades of blue. And usually I don't even see it in all of those colors. So sometimes they might not have orange, they might not have yellow. You go and you look at some of these damn dresses. They have like I saw one yesterday. They had 40 different versions of it. They had it in red. They had it in red with polka dots, with black polka dots. They had it in like a Halloween type setting where it's orange. They had it in yellow. They had it in light green, dark green, baby blue, sky blue, regular blue, um, very like black, regular black, then gray, then black with purple flowers, then black with. I was like, damn. But see, that's why I told you that even when you like, because I was saying you could get literally 7 of those, right? And they would all look different. They're all different colors and have sometimes not even just like just being a different color. Sometimes they have different patterns on them. I'm like, man, it's all just so distinct. And like that's what I meant about like that variety. Like I've never seen a man's anything that has 40 different versions of it. I'm honestly still livid about people who stood around mouth breathing watching him die slowly in front of their eyes. But did they speak or did they just open and close their mouths like fish? Dude, now I want somebody to make like a what's that site called, Newgrounds, a little Newgrounds animation where it's called Perspective of Jordan Neely, uh, witnesses, right? And then all the people, like you get pictures of the people that were there, right? And you make them all look like fish, and they just have their mouth opening and closing, and it's because it's like a play on how they all like just sat there and didn't do anything and acted like fish. They acted like they don't have any like control of their hands. They can't speak English. I mean, oh my god. God, man, I'm telling you. They just open and close their mouth like fish. Well, Aaron, you get what I'm saying about like the outfit thing, right? Of how you never see men's clothes anywhere near that distinct, even just with like colors of it. Like it's almost always just primary colors, and sometimes they don't even have all of those. But then when it's women's clothes, they have flowers and polka dots and stripes and all types of stuff. You ever notice that? Those fish, man, they were like, whatever. We're just gonna sit here and let this man pass and not have anything to say about it. So brave. And then they raised 2 million for the guy's fund. No agency, but quick to judge after. Oh yeah, they all do that. They're too afraid to do anything to actually help somebody, but you know, they're completely fine with just sitting around. "Duh, duh, duh, duh. Let's let this person pass." Only in Saigon, Vietnam, do I see men wearing really creative looks. Well, that's kind of true. I mean, even somewhere like I hate to use them as an example, but Even a country that calls itself being as antithetical to America as North Korea. You look at Kim Jong Un, and what do you see him in? That little like black suit every time, and then you look at his sister, and she dresses like a regular old businesswoman. With the skirt and the heels, or I guess pumps rather. Do I remember when they thought he was on his deathbed, and all those people were celebrating the idea of a female dictator? I was so embarrassed. I said, "Isn't it sad that we get to a point where we're completely fine with the same old awful policy of treating people like dirt because you weren't born in the right family, just because the current person the current person who's going to lead the herd of tyranny may end up having a vagina?" Like, it's just sad. The stuff people celebrate is really depressing. I guess Megumi retired for today. But it's all right. I know he's usually busy. Oh, let's see here. YouTube has a thing now. They didn't used to have this even like a few months ago. They have a thing where there's like a little heart option. It's supposed to show you the emojis you can put out there. And I keep thinking somebody sent me that because it's like right by the last comment every time. I'm not sure if you're already spoken about it in the stream earlier, but your previous video really was reassuring. Oh, I didn't really mention it that much outside of the fact that the guy that I talked about came on there and tried to double down on his crap, because these people they always want to have these never-ending arguments. Um, but I appreciate the compliment. I didn't know you saw it before it got yanked. But my position is, if you sit down and explain to these people why what they're doing is wrong, and then they continue to double down on it, why do my thing is like, why, like, during a period where I'm worried about if I'm going to have a job or food or even a place to live, the last thing on my mind as far as a priority is talking to some guy that I don't even like, that's going to just blame me anyway, who already has a proven track record of everything is my fault. So that's why my tolerance isn't as high as it used to be for that crap. And he didn't address anything I said in the video. It was just because I had a whole section about how, a lot of those trolls, they used to do a thing of being like, you're ugly and you're gonna, you should commit, what, and it's like they wrote this type of stuff and then YouTube punished them for it, and I guess now they're trying to not sound as nasty, so they have to like pretend that they understand where I'm coming from, but then at the same time also try to like shame me for my position, or attempt to make me feel bad by saying you didn't do this right, or it's just weird. They can't make up their mind. How many more men are becoming aware of the triangle scam? And it is leaning more towards that way. I'm glad. Told you, we get to a point where a woman logs onto her Facebook, never mind, not Facebook, logs onto her Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and there's no men whatsoever trying to send her a message or talk to her. I think that's when you're going to start to see the shift, because they're going to be like, "Hey, why is nobody saying anything? I just posted my nasty pictures. Where'd they go?" I'm really serious. I think it's going more that way. Like, I think at some point in the next few years, you're gonna there's because you know what it is. Mainstream media and a lot of these like bigger outlets, they don't like to talk about, like, just like we were talking about, like with the I word, right? A lot of guys go online, talk about stupid chicks, and they get called misogynists, women haters. They're made to seem like these evil, devious, disturbing creatures, right? But in reality, most of the ones that saw online talking trash about them, they're not going to go and assault somebody or do some other, they're just venting about how frustrating the whole process is. But that's why I said the media spins stuff and makes it seem like there's this whole terrorist wing of men. Like basically, if you can't get with a woman, you need to just shut up about it. And if you go online and like talk about, you could either self-load, like say, oh, I'm this, or you could say, hey, there's something wrong with them. You're considered like someone who's going to do something, even if there's nothing in your rhetoric that hints at that whatsoever. Because that's how just demented they are. They want to, they want to play defense for chicks, so they have to make everybody that can't get one of them seem like they're crazy. And I was gonna say with the female stuff, I am getting more brazen with it. Still not entirely comfortable, but it's getting there. Like I said, I just don't think people should be able to tell you what you can and can't wear. Certainly not in a non-professional setting. Like if you work for some job and they're like, all right, wear this, whatever. But as far as like you're just driving around doing your day-to-day activities, there shouldn't be any kind of like, you know, person that gets to stick their finger at you and be like, don't wear this. The hell with that. I'm gonna tell you what you can and can't put on. If you're a man, that is. I'm telling you, if you reverse the genders on that press conference crap, and I went and said something about how this woman is only wearing a bikini or a swimsuit, people would be calling me, you know what, so fast. I agree, especially in a work setting, it should be fair and equal between both genders. Well, I was saying that, like, a lot of times these jobs, like the restaurant I worked at, the uniform they had was basically the same thing for both. Like, it's some pants, some black pants, and black shoes, and then like a little shirt or whatever. Um, but you know what I'm saying about how, like, even in those professional business settings, the idea that like if you're a guy, and I already told you that that person, the one I was living with, their business setting was in their house. So they could literally go to work in their underwear. But it's like, I think it is screwed up that women have all these options, and if you're a man, it's always the same stupid suit with the white or blue shirt and the blazer that's blue or black. I just get tired of it. Well, that's what I was saying. Like that, like men wearing suits is considered formal wear for them, but then it's like chicks, they can come in all types of stuff. They can wear a suit that looks like one a man would wear. They could wear a suit with a skirt. They could wear a dress, and like the dress could be short. It could be long. I mean, it that's why I said that it drives me crazy just seeing how much variety they have and how little we have. We haven't changed what men wear for a century and a half, pretty much. Oh no, you go back to the beginning of to the, like, what is it? I'd say, yeah, like the 1901, 1902. They were wearing suits back then as well. Really, men's fashion as far as like formal attire has been the same since like the 18th, probably since the 19th century, like the start of the 19th century, with the damn like getting rid of knee bridges for long trousers, like it, because back then women just wore dresses, and then around the 60s and 70s, I'd say the 70s and 80s, that's when they really started wearing pants regularly, and people have gotten used to it, and now they can pretty much wear whatever they want. In fact, it, like I said, it's frowned upon for anyone, especially men, to tell a woman what she can or can't wear, regardless of how inappropriate we may personally think it is. But if you're a man and you wear something, get ready for all the critiques. I told you I was so tempted to make a video on Kyle where he was talking. It was back when the Jimmy thing happened with Anna from TYT, where she accused him of whatever, like uh, he told Jimmy in the video, "You're talking about how short her outfit was. What are you, a fundamentalist Christian? And if someone talked about my mother or my girlfriend or my wife that way, it would take everything I have to not want to beat the expletive out of that person." But then when he does a story about Don Lemon and him getting criticized for wearing a hoodie with a blazer, he's like, I mean, that's just how it is, man. Sometimes it's just how it is. It's like, so wait a second, if we criticize what a woman wears, we're a fundamentalist Christian, and you want to, and if it was one of these three specific special women, you would want to beat us up. But then if people talk about what a man wears, you're fine with it? Really? We're supposed to just take it on the chin. Oh well, that's just how it is. And that is from both genders. You're more likely to get critiqued over. The Regency era started the suits and dumbed down the look gradually since then. Remember how politicians didn't even have beards for a while, and like now they're back in vogue? Where Crenshaw, I think he's from Texas, and Cruz, they both have them. I'm glad, because my thing is, why does everybody who gets elected to one of these offices have to be clean shaven? It's all part of that same homogenizing. You know what I mean? Like it's all designed to make everybody look the same, talk the same, dress the same. It's just I'm tired of it. The Regency era. Oh man. I'm saying I do like the idea of basically telling people when you put on that stuff, like, I don't care what you think, I don't care what your BS societal norms are. Like I do like that a lot. As far, what I mean, like, just because my thing is, if people are going to be fine with you starving, having nothing to eat, nowhere to stay, why should you care about what their norms are? Genuine question. Like, if no one cares about your well-being, why should you care about what they personally would like to see you have on, or what looks weird to them? You know what I mean? Like, why should it bother you? Because for me, a big part of it is also that, like, since I have my own place, I'm always worried about having to be confronted by someone about something that's really none of their business. That's my biggest concern. But as far as like random regular people that. Glad I was able to finish this before the person. Is this thing really going to be at 12 o'clock? I really do like your way of thinking on this topic. Well, you know what I'm saying about how um I just, like, I truly want fairness, because I do think if things are actually equal to each other, it only benefits both sides. And like I said, a lot of the women's attire, whether it's a dress or a skirt, like the way they describe it, it sounds comfortable. And I don't know why I'd have to be less comfortable because somebody else might have a problem. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird to me. That is very true, and is how I tend to see it. Dude, could you imagine if it was like prom and both the man and the woman got to wear a dress and like all the guys were like talking about how they looked so much like because you know how they do that, like they try to talk about who looks better or who wore it better, or like you know what I'm talking about, like getting to those things about which one is most creative and looks the nicest. I tell you, with men, it's always the same stupid blazer with the black uh, shoes, or same old dress shoe that everybody has, and it's like I would like them to have the option of like, hey, if you don't want to wear a suit, you can also wear a gown. If if you don't want to wear that, you can wear a suit. You know what I mean? Like just some variety. Like again, why does everyone have to wear the same damn thing just because of their gender? I could use a break from some of their political language as well. Affordable, sustainable, emerging narrative moving forward into what? A face plant. We need some affordable health care. And that one guy that came to my video years after the fact, and he was like, college is affordable. I'm like, affordable according to who? Yes, variety to be expressive, like how women can. I'm telling you, man. I used to never understand how you could have some women that just have like loads and loads of clothes, like a whole, you know, like just case full of them. But now I get it, man. When you see all the variety and options they have, it's really it tells you something. I have to admit, it's really informative, and it shows you that they just have a lot of choices, and I wish we had that too. I wish we could just pick and select and whatnot. Like I said, it's just one of those things where I just have to feel more comfortable. I am getting more and more comfortable, but still. Who said college was affordable? Some guy came on an old video from like 6 or 7 years ago talking about fast forward and you're getting rejected by these types of jobs, and college is affordable. You probably should have hit them up. And I'm like, that's really nuts to go to a video from literally half a decade ago and try to do like a see how you turned out type of comment. So I just got rid of him. He's stupid. But yeah, if you listen to them, everything is affordable. Hell, I didn't even mention I went after I did my stream last Monday. I went this same Starbucks I'm at right now. I went here and got a drink and a loaf of bread, and that was like $8. The drink is like $5, which I don't. I don't. That's why I don't get stuff from here. It just costs too much. Uh, like I, but somebody will tell you that's affordable. I didn't even get to mention the Chick-fil-A milkshake, because I talked about before how I used to get that every weekend and it was like $2, and then when they bumped it up to like 4.50 or 4.25, now it's 4.99. I looked on the menu again; it's almost $5, or it is $5 rather. And remember, it's not they didn't make a large one, they didn't make an extra large. It's that same tiny one that's like this big. Like I said, I'm not spending $5 on that damn thing. You can go to McDonald's and get a large for like $3. Oh, they can take their little itty bitty shake and throw it away. But look, I'm having let me see. The pricing on a lot of this stuff is outrageous. Yeah, and you know what? My theory, I was telling my friend this, is that a lot of people probably were not buying it because most people, I believe, I don't have any statistics, just my opinion. I think most people, when they go to these fast food places, they get a burger, some fries, and a soda. So I think because most people were not buying it, and maybe it takes a certain amount to produce, they say, okay, we're going to jack up the prices to see if we can squeeze as many pennies out of people as we can. But they're not getting any more of my money. That thing just costs too much. But that is my theory that they because most of the other stuff has stayed largely the same. Like I can get a burger and fries for like $9 or $10. So I think they bumped the price up on that so they could get some more bang for their buck. They know that barely anybody buys that thing, so their solution is to try and jack up the price to see if they can squeeze some more pennies out of the well. That's my theory. But yeah, the pricing is really absurd. So listen, I've got a little bit over a half hour until this summit takes place. I don't think it's going to personally lead to anything prosperous or decent or good. Um, because like I said, this person they will never acknowledge when they screw up ever or when they do something wrong, and it's just a character trait of theirs that I've become very familiar with. Like it's not something that surprises me at this point. Um, but I also want to go and take care of one thing before it starts, which is like right down the street. So I'll probably I'll wrap this up here. So thanks for showing up, Megumi. Aaron, I haven't seen him on a stream in so long. I started to sing a sad song. Kotsky Merchant when he was here earlier, and I I'll be back on Monday and give you an update on what occurred during this very momentous peace summit that I hopefully will not result in something awful. So thanks for showing up and have a good rest of your weekend.